The Suir Valley of southeastern Ireland is one of the most beautiful areas in the country. The rolling hills and seaside scenery offset the hustle and bustle of the cities, and it's no surprise that steam railroads ran here. Thanks to the efforts of the Railway Preservation Society of Ireland, they're back in service once again.
Ireland. It is one of the most beautiful countries in the world. The rolling hills of a rural countryside. The breathtaking scenery of the Irish seacoast. The hustle and bustle of big cities. And some of the greatest old steam engines you will ever see. For more than 40 years now, the Railway Preservation Society of Ireland has been preserving and operating steam locomotives which had been rapidly disappearing from the Irish railway system. The Society owns and operates a fleet of 9 steam locomotives and more than 20 vintage cars on what is essentially a rolling public museum.
Steam locomotives have been out of active use in Ireland since 1971, which is a lot later than the rest of the UK. And I think we've got a very unique setup here with wider gauge, 5'3" gauge, and a unique collection of mainline steam locomotives. It's important to bring that to the general public. We've got a role to play now in education, and I think the days of boys playing trains have long gone, and we're now in active service for the general public. You can't really appreciate a steam locomotive unless it's actually living and breathing. I mean, when the fire's inside it and the smell of the smoke is wafting back across the platform, it creates a very unique atmosphere. And I think this train, over and above all of the other trains that we run, really embodies that atmosphere. And you'll find that the people who come on this train really live and breathe the 3-day tour. In fact, I've already suggested that we should write a book about it. There are so many anecdotal stories about the exciting things that happen on this tour that it just wouldn't have happened if the locomotives were in a museum.
Today's Loco 186 was one of the, a member of one of the most numerous class of locomotive in Ireland, the J15. They were used all over the country because of their very light axle load and strong pulling power. So they were used on a variety of trains, from goods cattle trains to passenger branch line trains. So they had a vast usage over their life, and they lasted right through to the end of steam in Ireland. She was built in 1879 in Manchester. There was some of the engines were built in Dublin, and some of them were built in Manchester. And she was one of the Manchester engines. She was based around the country, but she finished her days based here in Waterford. So it's kind of nice that she's back here on her first May tour, was where she finished up in company service. So it's nice to have her back here. Number 4 is. She's sort of one of the favourable engines. She's a very good engine to work on. She's the most modern engine we have. She was built in 1947 in Derby was the NCC, which later transpired to be the UTA and on into NIR. She was the last steam locomotive to work in the country. She was one of the class built to haul trains to Derry and Portrush, and she lasted right through to the end of the train, or to the end of the steam trains, hauling stone or muck trains to build the M1 motorway, which is, the railway's enemy. But it spent its last days hauling trains to build a motorway, which ultimately was going to be the demise of the railway.
The Society runs the escorted trips to show off the Irish scenery and to show off the trains. The starting and finishing points are often major cities like Belfast or Dublin, and packed in between are thousands of memories in the making.
Well, we run steam tours to basically every main city in Ireland throughout the year for the general public. They can book very easily over our website, www.rpsionline.org. And there's just no better way of seeing the countryside. The railway lines were always put through the countryside to avoid congestion around main cities. And it's the best way to see the seascapes and the countryside and beautiful scenery that Ireland has to offer.
The RPSI is the only operator of mainline trains in Ireland. It's been around since 1964, and it has a very unique collection of locos, and also a very unique atmosphere on board our trains. Anybody who travels on our trains always says that the atmosphere on the train is one that there's something magic about travelling on the RPSI, and I like to try and think that we can keep that going.
We're always constantly changing. I'm only 30 years old this year, so as a group of younger enthusiasts come on stream, We've got a new rake of carriages out. We've got a selection of locomotives that have just come into our ownership from Irish Rail after years of loan. And we're facing a very bright future with the prospect of getting better grant aid, better funding, and a public that really wants to know about its heritage for a change and is not ashamed of what it can see. So I think we face a very bright future at the moment.
Irish history, Irish beauty, Irish class, the Irish work ethic. It's everywhere you look. But nowhere is it more evident than on the trains of the Railway Preservation Society of Ireland.